Hello, welcome to the Uniformer. I'm Rick Levine from the NAUMD, Network Association of Uniform Manufacturers and Distributors. And this is our second live stream. So bear with us if we're a little awkward at it. But I'm thrilled to have a longtime friend, colleague here, TJ Valentino from Boston Leather. Hi, TJ.
Good morning, Rick.
Hey, TJ, for those that do not know what Boston Leather does, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what Boston Leather is up to?
Sure. I'm TJ Valentino. I'm the sales manager at Boston Leather and do various things in the factory and the office as well. But we've been around since 1938 and we cut and sew leather, mostly belts and accessories for police, fire, and workwear.
Wow, since 1938, you don't seem that old, huh?
No, no.
And but this is a family business, right?
It is. My father bought it when he lost his job. He had worked for a small manufacturer in Chicago that did briefcases and had some of similar sewing machines and cutting and whatnot, just not the leather portion of it. And Boston Leather was also in Chicago, and just by luck and calling around, Boston Leather was for sale, almost out of business, and he and my mother bought it and brought it back.
Well, that's wild. And so you grew up in you grew up in leather.
Well, and that I really didn't grow up in it until after graduate school. I had
Oh.
finished, and that's when he had lost his job and found Boston Leather. So I started with Boston Leather when he did, and learned the
Oh.
computer system and did some things. I owed them money for school, so I paid some of that back before moving on. They got things purchased and going. And I left for about 9 years and then came back.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I grew up
Well,
in knowing manufacturing just through, my father working for a small manufacturer and going in high school to, clean bathrooms and offices and, kind of see how a factory works at a very small level.
yeah. Yeah. And so serving law enforcement and fire and uniforms and workwear, I mean, there's a variety of customers, and I mean, but so what are the differences though? Like to common people, isn't a belt a belt? I mean, how do you distinguish these different markets in your mind and in Boston Leather's approach, to them?
Well, the good thing about the uniform market is there's kind of a standard that's been around for a long time. So the belts that are out there that are your standard uniform belts are the same design and setup for, over 100 years.
Mm.
So, for the main market, police, fire, your for instance, your inch and three quarter Garrison belt is, inch and three quarter wide, square buckle with a center bar, and it's used for station wear for fire, for the pants for police, for military. So it's nice that we don't have to be that smart. We can follow the rules, and we just provide a good product at a good price and make sure that we can deliver it, um, and not have to develop something new every year like you would in fashion.
I've often called the business, to people that aren't familiar with the uniform industry, I call it like an annuity business, because it's the same thing again. It's a uniform business. It's the same thing again and again and again. And I guess that's what you're describing. So that's true for what you're calling the Garrison belt. And it's Garrison. Does that come from the military? Is that why it's called Garrison belt?
Yes. Yep. It's a
Yeah.
certain number of troops in, make up a garrison that that add to your troops. And um, I'm not sure, that the belt was. just for a certain garrison or how it came about. But yes, it is a military term.
But now, if you look right behind you, you've got the duty belt hanging down. I can see right behind your
Yes,
head there, and you're making all of the parts that go on that belt as well, right?
we are. And actually, that belt is called the Sam Brown belt. And there was
Oh,
actually somebody named Sam Brown who lost an arm and came up with a belt system with that belt and a strap that goes over so that he could still access his holster and that was in like the 1800s. So, but there was actually a person called Sam Brown, and that is a 2¼ inch duty belt or Sam Brown belt.
and it's a wider only because it needs to hold that all that stuff rather than the garrison belt, which is, you said, is only 1 3/4.
Yes, so the garrison belt will fit through the loops on the pants, and uniform pants tend to have a little bit bigger loops. So that does fit the 1¾ belt. So they will put that belt on through the pants, and the belt you see behind me will go over that belt. And usually you'll use 4 small pieces of leather we call a belt keeper that goes behind the garrison belt on the pants and around this belt, and it holds the two together. And then at the end of the day, they can take those 4 belt keepers off and then take the duty belt off, and everything comes off. They don't have to feed things through pant loops or anything.
So they're wearing two belts. You're saying it goes
Yes.
over the other belt.
Yes.
Whew. No wonder officers feel like they've got like so much stuff on them at any given time, right? It's and then I mean you've probably been affected then by the move off of the waist then, right? As people are moving, law enforcement's moving to more chest-based positions.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, the leather in general, there's been a lot of nylon out there that, um, if you compare ours, it's not a huge weight difference, but it can be depending on the product. And the tactical look is something that a lot of younger officers like. So, just that in general, and then people wanting to move things off their belts. If it's allowed on their vest, then they'll get what's called the Molly system, is a certain pattern of nylon webbing and spacing that then you can make accessories that would attach to the vest carrier on the outside of the shirt.
Very interesting. Huh. Uh, so that's like one of the ways that I guess the market's shifting, for you as your the end users might talk about where they want things on the belt or they want it moved somewhere else or they want right. So are there other things that have been changing over time that you're adapting to as customers say, well, I imagine one is 20 years ago you weren't having to think about iPhones and smartphones and now
Right.
are you getting requests for that? I mean, I'm just throwing that out, but what are some of the shifts that you're seeing in what the end users are looking for?
Whatever they're required to carry are the things that we look at making the accessories for. So the latest things that have, there's always a new flashlight,
Ah,
a new radio, things like that. Handcuffs have stayed pretty much the same. Um, but the latest thing are tourniquets and Narcan. So a lot more officers are carrying tourniquets, and a lot of departments require that either 1 or 2 Narcan doses are carried as well. So we've made holders for those.
interesting. Huh. Uh, and what is the Narcan shape? Is that just a cylinder? How does that work?
It's a think of just like an allergy medicine spray, a little pump that goes in the nostril, and you just pump it and it atomizes it.
Yeah. Boston's not doing holsters for weapons though, right? That's not something you've gotten into or
I go back to us not being that smart. We make a really good product, and the holsters are a whole nother patents and engineering and design with different levels of security. So
Yeah.
we have some basic holsters for people off duty, and then we also have 3 or 4 holsters that are used for honor guard, and that's our biggest
Oh,
holster business is for honor guard because they don't
interesting.
need a security retention. It can just be a flap with a snap or a strap over the top with a snap, and we do that in the high gloss Clarino for parades and funerals. Um,
Because
Now, what has changed?
you're doing some dress belts as well, right? You've got some sharp looking products that are more for class A looks, right?
We do, yes. If the department's in the high gloss Clarino and uses it every day, or the honor guard, we do a lot for the honor guard. One of the things for holsters, both on duty and what they want for honor guard, is to be able to keep an optic sight on the gun. If they have to take that off, then it has to be recalibrated. So we've changed our holsters so that they can leave that on the weapon if they switch over to honor guard duty.
Hmm.
And they also would like to keep the flashlight on the gun as well. So we're developing a holster for that for honor guard. So then if they're, if they just switch to doing a parade or a funeral, they can use our holster and not have to adjust anything on the weapon.
And cases. You're doing cases as well, right? Tell me about
Yes.
how that works, because there's, you know, umpteen different size badges, right?
Oh, for badge cases, we can do any cutout that's out there. The nice thing is we have a laser cutter, so the old days of having to buy a cutting die, which is just like a cookie cutter, and stamping out that, where you're talking $300 to $500 now. We can cut any shape with our laser with no setup fees and you know minimal time on our part to do it.
Wow.
And the nice thing is with all the different badges out there, we can make any shape.
How are things going in the supply chain of the leather world? I don't even know if I don't know if I planned on asking you that,
Yeah.
but it occurs to me you and I have talked about that over time, right? A little bit, that
Yes.
you're in this unique supply chain world that, certainly the textile industry, which is so much of the uniform business, doesn't have to deal with. You're in a very specific supply chain world. How does that work even?
Yeah, so far we've been lucky even through COVID where there were price increases that you always have to worry about. And supply has been steady.
Hmm.
During COVID, there were a couple of times that we waited a little longer than we would have liked. But I don't think we ever went more than a couple of weeks with, really worrying. But right now, prices are steady. The supply seems to be there. There aren't a lot of tanneries. There's a couple of different leathers that we use, and there's not as many tanneries in the U.S. So we try to source as much as we can from the U.S.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's tricky. And then I mean, was your world affected by the tariff seesaw that was happening over the past year?
Not with leather,
Hmm.
because so much of it is close by. The hardware is what changed a
Ah.
lot for us. But when if you're talking about a belt and if the buckle doubles in price, it's still not a lot of the cost of the belt. I mean,
Hmm.
it certainly affected things more than it had in the past. Luckily, with leather, it's gone up, but it's been fairly steady.
Hmm. Interesting. Huh. Um, so your business follows like a traditional, you're manufacturing, then you're selling to a retailer or dealer distributor level. And I know, a lot of them. And how has that been a component for Boston Leather? I know it's a big part of how you you interact with the industry and with end users is through the dealer distributor network, and you have a very strong base in that. And tell me about how that works, and how you feel that times might be changing, and what the dealers are facing, and what your impressions are.
Well,
I
I mean,
know
the
that.
world itself is consolidating.
uh,
And it's still an industry with some smaller individual dealers, and then some dealers are getting quite large.
mhm.
And our job is to try and service all of them. It seems like the bigger anything gets, the more difficult it is to manage. So one of our things is to try and provide the data and information that at any level, but especially the larger customers, it makes it easy to deal with us.
Yeah,
Between quality, price, and delivery. If we can make it easy on everybody, then they'll keep coming to us.
yeah, 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 yeah. um, do you think that uh, that there are changes coming to your manufacturing process? I'm trying to think in terms of, like, I can't imagine um, robots will be, maybe I mean, can robots work with leather, TJ? It's like, what will the manufacturing process of leather products look like over the next 5 years, do you think? Or is it?
Yeah, it's really hard to say because we're lucky enough that for us, our process is very safe and clean.
Mm,
So, I like to say it's a good place to work. But there's a lot of hands on the product that we make, and to automate things doesn't right now make sense on most things
yeah.
because a person can do it as fast or faster than a machine.
Mm,
And there's certain things that I've looked at some automated sewing machines. So if we really get in the pinch where we can't find people who can or want to sew,
mm,
there are some options with some automated sewing on some basic things, maybe some badge cases. But if you look at a handcuff case, that's always going to have to be hand sewn.
mm.
There's, three pieces of leather that you have to hold in a certain position. You're not going to find a robot or a clamp that can effectively do that. So there might be some
Right.
automated sewing, some other processes, but we're not being forced into that right now.
Which is, which is remarkable that you're doing it. It's all domestic manufacturing, right? And
Hmm.
you've got I think I was at the facility years ago, but uh you've got a sea of people that are sewing, and it's a testament that that hasn't changed at Boston Leather. It's great.
Yes.
It's still made in USA, and that's um, it's unique, right? So many
Yes.
products have been, as you're phrasing it, we haven't had to do, phrasing it like we haven't had to consider, this automation, or that it has to go offshore because of demands, that you can't make a product that agencies can afford, so you have to take out the labor cost. So it's impressive, TJ, that you know um, why do you think that has stayed for you guys? Or are you more of like a, when you think of good, better, best, are you in the best category, and so people expect to pay a buck more, or whatever it is?
I look at us, more in the middle where, we have a really solid product. I look at police keep their gear in, fairly good order and cleaned up and whatnot. And if you look at firefighters, they just destroy our product. I mean, they do everything they can to not take care of it and beat it up, and it holds up for them, and they just love it. So, we're not going to be a high end fancy brand, and we're not going to be a low end. We're going to be solid in the middle with, a good quality product that looks good, but is going to be very durable.
That sounds like a really good
Yeah.
position, actually, huh?
Yes. And and our pricing reflects that. We try to be kind of in the middle.
I mean, it kind of is answering a question that I'm thinking about also, which is, well, what might have changed, for you in the market from the past 10 or 15 years, ago? And maybe you're answering that in a way that you're saying, well, no, it hasn't. Like that's your mission, is to be like right there at a reasonable price point, with a durable product, and that's not changing. But are there some things that have changed?
Yeah, I mean, we always look at different things, and what else can we do if we have extra leather or extra capacity, and what's easy for us to do. So we did add, for instance, some police canine items a long
Oh,
time ago after being pushed by one of our dealers who wanted it, and it's never taken off to be fantastic for us, but it's something we can make relatively easy, and it's good quality, and for the size of the market that we service, it works well for us. We've done some more casual belts, and reached out to that market, but it's not something that people know us in like they do police and fire.
it's all driven by the belt. So, right, for you,
Yes.
you're not going to be seeking products that don't somehow have a adjacent connection to the belt, in essence.
Well,
No?
one of one of the things that we make that no one would ever guess is we make a tuning key holder for a harp.
Whoa!
So it's a little pouch that wraps around a harp and then has a strap over the top to hold the tuning key in. And if you look up Lion and Healy harps on their website, they'll have some tuning key holders, and we make them.
That's very cool. Okay.
So something a little different that you wouldn't expect.
No, I totally didn't expect that one. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Uh, yeah. So, I mean, it seems that you've used the word steady multiple times. Do you see, like, are you optimistic, TJ? Are you like a person that, and my friends and family get mad at me because I'm overly optimistic about everything. So, but do you see a bright future for Boston Leather and the uniform industry and leather within the uniform industry?
Right now it seems like leather's just a really solid product for, comfort, durability, and what people are used to and like. So I think leather belts will be around for, probably forever. They've been
Hmm.
around, seems like forever already that,
Yeah.
the leather's been around and has its place. The uniform industry isn't going anywhere.
Hmm.
We're always going to have police and fire and military. It does seem like, there's more and more companies and employees who want uniforms, to just, you know, have people look the same, be part of an organization. And the biggest thing with leather is nice that it might take a little bit to break in, and when it does, especially for firefighters, they put a pair of suspenders on, and when it breaks in, it's theirs and it fits their body, and it's comfortable. The rest of the uniform industry is going the same way, where they're trying to find fabrics and styles and designs that are the most comfortable, durable, and whether it's somebody on an ambulance, somebody in a fast food restaurant, somebody on an oil rig, it doesn't matter. They're looking for those fabrics and designs that are going to keep people comfortable. So the
Yeah.
uniform
Yeah.
industry isn't going anywhere. And as long as we, if we can continue manufacturing in the US, have our suppliers and have our customers, if we price it well, have a good quality and deliver, Boston Leather will be around as well.
I love it. I love it. Got any juniors? Any of those kids of yours interested in the business,
I,
TJ?
I have one son is here for the summer right now. He just finished college, And he's very interested in staying, but right now I'm not allowing him, and he has a job for the fall, and he's gonna start a full-time job in accounting and at least do that for a little while.
But maybe someday there'll be another
It,
Valentino in the
it's
biz.
certainly a possibility.
All
Yes.
right, there you go. Well, I really appreciate you coming live with us here and venturing into this live territory with the uniformer. It's an experiment, and it was good talking with you today, TJ. You got any final thoughts?
No, I appreciate the time, Rick, and it's, anybody who is interested in NAUMD, I hope, everyone spreads the word and it gets more people interested so that we can keep the innovations coming.
Oh, you're right. I should do that kind of housekeeping, right? NAUMD.com if you want more info on
Yes.
the association, and BostonLeather.com if you want more info on the fine leather products from Boston Leather.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, TJ.
Thanks, Rick.